Hello and welcome everyone to episode 3 of the Antidote podcast. My name is Shark300 and I'm with my co-host Sondsol, and we're very excited to have you here today. If you haven't checked out the first 2 episodes, I highly recommend that you do. And once again, this is a men's liberation, feminist, men's rights podcast where we go over how to make men's life better in a world that isn't always so kind for us. And we're glad to have you guys here. Today's episode, we're going to be talking about misunderstanding signals. Now, a really big thing that guys struggle with, that I've gotten a lot of comments about, is misunderstanding and misreading signals. And if you talk to any women who are into guys or talk to guys, they can tell you absolutely that guys misread signals. And if you're a guy, you probably misread a signal from a girl, and it gets to be a little bit of a problem. So we decided that we're going to talk about this today. So Son, I have to ask you, okay? Do you have a time in your life where you've misread a signal from a girl?
Many.
Many? Wait.
Several.
Can you share one?
Oh.
Let
me decide which one. Let me decide which one I would like to share. Well, I mean, I can talk about like the very, very first time that I ever decided to flirt with a girl. And it was the first time I decided to flirt with a girl was the first time I got rejected. And it was brutal because I think I was like in the 5th grade, and I had been really liking this girl, and you know we were like hanging out in class, and we were like had like a small little friend group. And one day I decided, you know, I'm gonna try and get a girlfriend. And I asked her out, and she said, "Ew, no."
Ooh, it wasn't even just like a regular no. It's like
no. It got even worse because after she said, "Ew, no," she said, "The only reason I even hang out with you because this other person likes to hang out with you." And then it was just like there was like the first fucking like headshot, and then she like did another 360 headshot. The first one was bad, all right? The second one, it just like decapitated me. So I didn't talk to girls for the next 7 years.
You know what? I don't even blame you. I would be traumatized if that happened to Ew. The only reason I spent any time around you sick freak, is because she dodged you. Like, oh my god.
It was pretty brutal. She did not mince words whatsoever.
Dude, girls can be mean sometimes.
Yeah, they can be.
It do be hurting. Like I've misread signals before, but I don't think I've had anything that bad. It's more like you know, when you like a girl, so you're just nice to her, but you're scared to make a move, so you just continue being nice to her, and then you're just like she thinks of you as a friend, and then you're like, oh yeah, no, I'm still hunting for a relationship, and then you know you finally muster up the courage to ask the question, and she's like, what? I thought we were just friends, sort of thing. And I'm like, oh no. But for me,
yeah. I mean, I've had those as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've had ones like that as well. For me, I think that initial rejection, whenever it came to like friendships with girls, it was always like walking on eggshells. Whenever I was like thinking like maybe, no. We gotta put on the brakes, put some ice on that one, big boy. You know,
yeah, a little bit. You gotta scrape off some of that mustard. A little bit too much mustard on that one. No, I definitely feel you. But lots of guys have trouble misreading signals, and misreading signals can happen to anyone in many different situations. So it could be not reading the room, you like playing around or joking around too much, you're like too excited, and then like that can lead you to accidentally not respecting someone's boundaries, and you think that you were on the same page with someone when actually at the end of the day that you're not. That happens like all the time. Okay, but in this today we're going to be talking about misreading signals for like romantic interest, along those lines, because I think that would probably be the most important thing that we need to talk about today. So now I posted I'm not sure if you saw this, but I posted a screenshot of an article earlier this week, and it just had the most hilarious title, and that is the first link on the document. So it's the headline of it is why interacting with a woman can leave men cognitively impaired, which I opened this link and I just started laughing for 5 minutes because I mean, come on, this is hilarious.
It's in Scientific American, and that's what the title is.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
fucking amazing.
That's what made it even better, is like a research paper, why interacting with women can leave men cognitively impaired. And it starts off like movies and television shows are full of scenes where a man tries to unsuccessfully interact with a pretty woman. In many cases, the potential suitor ends up acting foolishly despite his best attempts to impress. It seems like his brain isn't working quite properly, and according to new findings, it may not be. So the thing is, this, what it goes into is that when you are looking really intently for making a good impression on someone, especially someone that you can find to be a romantic partner, your brain can just shut down. And the reason is you're focusing so much on making that good impression, and you're thinking so hard about that you completely lose track of just about everything else, and you just act like super goofy. This happens to a lot of guys, actually. And not only does it happen to guys in this situation, it happens to racist people as well, which is also like super interesting. So if you have racial prejudice, what they did is they took guys, okay, and they took like some other groups of people, but racist people was the one that they talked about the most in the article. They took these people, and then they said, for the racist people, they're like, you're about to interact with a black person. And then they went like, their mental capacity just like plummeted. And they were supposed to be doing a task. And once they said that they were going to be interacting with this person, their mental capacity to do that task went down because they're too busy thinking about trying to make a good impression. And guys do this as well. And the thing is, it's not even like meeting a girl. What they did was they had like a piece of glass, and they said it was a one-way window. And they said there was a woman researcher behind the glass, and their like cognitive ability just like went down. And they said that they will be interacting with a woman, and then their cognitive ability went down. And the reason was because guys typically, the
blood went to their dicks. Sorry.
Yeah. All the blood flew to the dick. Their brain was completely empty, and the neurons just stopped firing. It's really unfortunate, bud. Really unfortunate. They needed an IV of Powerade to get that shit back up. But you know,
here, drink this Pedialyte, buddy. You'll be fine.
You'll make it. The thing is, because guys typically go into situations with women, and you've probably done this before, maybe with your friends sometimes, even if they're like women friends, and you know for a fact you should be just friends, and she wouldn't be interested in a relationship, even if she has like a boyfriend or something. Guys typically go into situations with women with more of a mindset that this person could be a potential like dating partner, or this person may be open for a relationship more than women do. Women on average don't go into situations like that. And so they don't expend that sort of like mental capital to think about that, and they don't lose their focus the same way guys do, because guys, we have like more of a problem with like attention and being able to focus on a specific thing than lots of women do sometimes. That's unfortunate, but that's like kind of what happens. So that leads us into the next thing, which is guys misread a lot of things for signals. Son, do you remember a time where you saw something in a woman and you're like, she definitely likes you. She definitely likes me. She's definitely into me.
Yes. See, these are the things that I whenever I have friends that are like, all right, so there's this girl, right? I think she likes me, but I can't tell, right? I always have to like get down into the nitty gritty of it, because a lot of times they'll just say like, oh, well, she's like really nice to me, and she she like jokes around with me, and it's like, okay, and there's nothing in it, and there's nothing else.
There's nothing else. That's it.
Yeah, it's just that. And so I'm sure we'll get into this, but a lot of times I think it's just like dudes are so starved for that positive interaction that they're like, oh God, nice equals wanna fuck. So
she's showing me any attention. Oh my gosh, she must be into me. That does happen. And that lack of interaction It does lead guys to be that, and there are lots of things that guys can interpret as a girl bringing into them, like smiling, being friendly, giving a compliment, touching them in any way, right? Even like to get their attention. At work, I remember I was talking to this one coworker, and then she laughed and then put her hand on like my forearm, and I was like, oh my gosh. When she could just be that person when she's like comfortable with the people, like you're laughing and then you like just touch them or like there are lots of people who do that, like put their hand on you. That doesn't mean she's into you like at all. She actually had a boyfriend. Laughing at your jokes, general attention at all, and initiating conversation. I've had this person, I've had this situation where women just walk up to you and you're like, something's going on here. Either she really likes me or I'm being pranked. And there's like no in between. I don't know if you feel that way sometimes.
Yeah. I feel like for me, I made this decision a long time ago, and I always qualify every time I've been on the podcast and every time we've talked about relationship stuff before. I always qualify this with, I don't think that my experience is the norm, or that like my the way that I interact with people is normal, right? Not that it's bad. I think that it gets me through life, you know.
We are streamers. We're not normal.
We're not normal. I realized a long time ago when I was in high school, right, that the way that a lot of dudes interact with girls makes them feel really fucking gross, right? When they're just trying to be chill, you know? And that made me feel very self-conscious, like, God damn, am I going to be one of those people? So I make an effort not to read into those things, like, actively. So it's probably been the case that I've kind of purposefully misread something that was flirting as just being friendly, because I felt like that was probably the best way to go. And I think I've kind of conditioned myself into operating like that. So in that way, that's not like the average experience. I think that a lot of dudes will just see like the positive interaction and say, you know what, this girl probably want to fuck. This girl, she wants me and all of me. She wants all of it, you know? And I feel like that's the sort of thing that guys will just misread and then go fucking way too hard into, you know?
Yeah, it's the sort of, I don't want to be like them or make guys look any worse to people. So that fear of being creepy and looking creepy can lead you to, even if you know someone's flirting with you, if you're like not 110,000% sure, what you do is you just pretend like it wasn't at all. And just like hope that instead of her being like getting like going away or something, what she does is start literally like beating you over the head with that she likes you. So to the point where you actually cannot deny it. And if it's not to that point, you're like, just like, completely, she doesn't exist. These signals just don't exist, right?
100%. That's how I generally operate right now.
Yeah, and that's like a sort of like on-off sort of thing that guys go through, because a lot of guys, researchers have shown, we lack in interpersonal situations. Lots of guys, it's not their strong suit to be like emotional intelligence, and interpersonal relationships are really difficult for lots of guys. Now, one thing that you probably heard of, it's a little cartoony, but some of you guys have probably gone through this, where you have a girlfriend, or there's a girl that you like, or someone that you know, or like a friend even, woman, all right? And they walk up to you and you're like, hey, what's up? And they're like, hey, do you notice anything different about me? And that's a deadly, deadly question, all right? It's almost like, do I look fat in this dress? Type of question, where you're like, you start sweating, you start looking her up and down, you're like, did she change her hair? Is it always that color? I don't know. Her eyes, does she still have the same eyes that she did? The shoes, and you're like, I think I remember those from last week, and you don't know, right? Lots of girls think that, you know, guys just don't get it. Lots of guys generally aren't perceptive in the same way that women are. So we talk in like different languages. Women are a lot better at encoding and decoding nonverbal cues, where lots of guys just aren't. We don't, and instead of learning, what lots of guys do is we just kind of shut down. Now, Sond, I remember you told me in your relationship, when it comes to like interpersonal situations or dealing with other people, you and your girlfriend have very specific different roles that you take on. She's the planner, right? And I would imagine, now you can correct me if I'm wrong, she keeps up with a lot of dates, like in the relationship, as in like specific dates where you have to do things, right?
Yes, very much so. We actually talked about this just not yesterday, the day before yesterday, because me and her are going to be moving in together, and she's very type A, very type A. I'm very type B, right? And so she has 3 whiteboards that have the schedules for like different things. One's a weekly one is a monthly one is a chore chart, right? So we have all these different ways to organize ourselves, and me, I'm just vibing.
Yeah, you go with the flow. She's got a hold of it. And it's the kind of thing where you're like, she's got a hold of it, and if I touch it, not only am I going to get my ass beat, but I'm also going to ruin everything.
Yes.
Yep. Up until that month and just into the future for the rest of our lives, I'm going to ruin it. So what lots of guys do is they kind of like shut down and they just unload those tasks onto lots of women, instead of like a lot of the times learning from that and trying to make that a part of themselves. And sometimes, some women, they just like girls in your life, they just don't really want you to, because you're gonna probably mess it up, but you're going to mess up a lot of things. This is life, you're going to fail in some things. That'll just happen. I know I have this sort of a relationship between me and my sister where my sister keeps all the dates. I'm awful at remembering birthdays. She has the extended family's birthdays. She has newborns' birthdays in the extended family. She has like all of my immediate family's birthdays. Sometimes I forget my own damn birthday. She has that down. She has all of the dogs' birthdays, and what to get them, where to get them. She sets up everything, and then she's like, "Here's the present we got them. Here's the card. Sign your name on it. If you don't have time to, I'll sign your name on it. Just tell me what you want me to write, and then I'll put your name down. And then like all of this, she'll take care of it. She'll take care of all of that." And we're just kind of like, okay, yep, that's the woman's job. And in those sorts of situations, it leads into the same thing when it comes to encoding and decoding nonverbal cues. You've probably seen this before, where someone's really someone doesn't tell you something directly. They give you a bunch of like nonverbal cues, and they seem like the signals that they give you seem a little like all over the place. So instead of like trying to decode them, what you do is just kind of give up, right? And sometimes that can be good when it comes to dating. Sometimes that can be good to be like, hey, listen, I don't know what you're saying. Tell me directly. What do you mean? But in some other situations where a lighter touch is needed, guys really fumble in that arena, and it's really unfortunate. You guys have probably gone through the idea of, I know this is a classic meme where guys are talking. You know this classic meme where a guy just like wakes up in a cold sweat in bed, and they're like, she was flirting with me back 8 years ago, right? Yep, she was. Oh my gosh, she was flirting with me that entire time. But the thing is, I gotta tell you, she probably wasn't. Now, guys, when it comes to encoding and decoding, we're bad at both. Encoding, which means putting nonverbal cues into the things that we do, and subtle overtures into the things that we do to give to people, and taking those, unboxing them, and understanding them. So when it comes to women, that decoding part it's really bad for us. So women are very good at encoding and decoding. So they encode and decode a lot. But since the receiver is kind of broken sometimes, we misunderstand women's nonverbal cues for what we want to see sometimes, which could be interest. So men are not very accurate with determining if women are actually into them. Now, you probably already know that, but let's actually try and put a little bit of numbers into that. So there was a study that was done, and most flirting that people saw that researchers saw was subtle, very subtle sorts of flirting. Now, we do subtle flirting for a bevy of reasons. But one I think is a really big one that you may not have thought of too much is insecurity. So you may very, very, very subtly flirt with someone because you're incredibly insecure in yourself. And then coming out with those sorts of emotions and telling people how you actually feel makes you feel vulnerable. And if you're emotionally vulnerable, that means you're able to get hurt again. And so to stop getting hurt again, what you do is you don't come out of your shell. You send very, very small signals. And if you're a guy, if you're sending very, very small signals and you're bad at encoding them, people won't get it. Right. And so what you do is what that does is that feeds into the mindset that you're bad at it and no one wants you. She didn't get the little signals where you just fucking suck at giving little signals. And so that reinforces the notion that you're like unlikable or unlovable and you're unwilling to put yourself out there and potentially get hurt. When, I mean, I can understand getting hurt. It sucks. That story that you told me, Son, I'm still reeling from that. That sucks. That's really bad.
We've all had little stories like that. So
oh yeah.
And I think that what you're saying here is 100% like it's so accurate to how not just I have felt in the past, but also how a lot of people that I know have felt in the past and have talked to me. Like I have friends who have always had problems dating, and you'll sit there and you'll talk to them and it's like, oh, what was it that you put out there to let her know that you were interested, right? What was she putting out there to let you know that she was interested, right? And it seems like when I'm talking to my dude friends about this sort of thing, they're like, well, I was kind of like, I texted her. It's like,
and then she texted back.
What did
like
you
6
say?
hours later.
Like what did you say? It's like, yo, what's up, dude? It's like, okay, well, I don't think that she's gonna read, hey, what's up, dude, as a flirtatious text, right? And it feels like it's people try to either be too subtle or they try to be like balls to the wall, sometimes literally too much. Especially when it comes to something like texting or talking on Discord or something like that. They'll either not say anything and the other person is completely not clued in to the fact that they're interested, or they're like sexually harassing people over the internet and not realizing it because they're like, all right, now this is how you're supposed to flirt on the internet. It's like, no, we gotta find you a nice easy medium here, buddy.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm. And that's the problem with like the encoding, right? When he was like, what's up, dude? That was him encoding flirting. That's bad. I'm just gonna say it here. It's bad. It doesn't.
Actual real story too, by the way.
Yeah, that doesn't work out, and that probably happened to a lot of people. You said something, or like you just give a plutonic compliment, or you're just like, you're really nice, or you smell nice, you look nice. There you go. That's the really plutonic sort of like compliment, and that's you encoding flirting. But most people wouldn't read it that way. So a study was done where they had 100 couples. So they had 50. Once again, we're talking about heterosexual people. Things get a lot more hazy when we go into queer people. But in this, we're going to be talking about heterosexual people. Just understand that. They had 50 men and 50 women, and they had them talk to each other. All right, They talked between 10 and 12 minutes. I want you guys in chat for a moment. Guess how accurate people were for after they talked, for knowing if the person was flirting with them. All right. So after they talked, they gave the person a piece of paper and they said, was that person flirting with you? Right? How accurate do you think that person was? 20, 17, 50, 10, 30, 12.
15% on mine.
30, 10%. The real thing was actually 28%. So it was 28% of the time. Guys were accurate at assessing if their partner was flirting with them. Well, my bad. This is everyone. It's less for guys. If you ever had that happen, all right, so 28% is not good. And if you've ever had that happen, and then you had like friends watching you or something, and you ask them or you relay the story, if, hey, this is what happened, do you think she was flirting with me? You go up to your friend and you were like, oh, was she flirting with me? That person is even less accurate at determining whether or not that girl was flirting with you. Even less accurate than 28%. If I remember correctly, I think it falls into like the high teens or like the even lower 20s. So you're not doing much for yourself when you go up to your friend and you're like, dude, was she flirting with me? That guy doesn't know. Okay.
And you're not doing any favors to your friend by walking up to him and saying, hey, that girl over there was like totally flirting with you. Why didn't you make a move? You're not helping your friend when you do that either.
More likely than not, she wasn't flirting with you at all. Right. And there's another wrinkle in here on the women's point of view, because we've been talking on the men's point of view. Let's talk about the women's point of view for a moment. Researchers found that initial glances, like the very initial interactions that you have with another person, are extremely low in determining whether someone is romantically interested in you. So if you see a girl and she's like looking at you from across the bar sometimes, or, you know, you glance at each other, you make eye contact, or she smiles at you, more likely than not, she's not flirting with you. Okay. And another wrinkle into this, which blew my mind when I was reading it, but I had some women in chat like try to illuminate some more information.
Women in your chat? Shark, what are you doing? Come on.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm sorry. I forgot there are no women on the internet, especially on politics. My bad. But women with high and low interest in a guy and their partner gave the same exact signals, whether they were attracted to them or not. So if you like look at a girl, right, and you're talking to her for about a couple minutes, and you think that she was dating, she was like into you, you have no clue, because women give the same exact signals whether they're interested or they're not. And the reason is because the researchers have found, and other women have like posited to me, for why they do it sometimes, is that we put a high premium on women not being deceived by men. Now, you probably know some bad guys out there. You may be a bad guy, but don't worry. Keep watching the podcast. We're going to change that. We're
going to fix you.
Yeah, we will fix you. All right. She won't fix you. We'll fix you. All right. You could be deceiving women, like trying to get in her pants, or just trying to make like friends with her to get something from her. Like, women don't want to be deceived by guys. There can be a high price to pay, especially if he's a really bad dude. There's a high price to pay. So what women do sometimes is they encode the same exact signals for being interested to be nice, right? But that being nice looks the same exact thing as flirting, because what they found is the first 4 minutes that you're talking to a girl, you give the same exact signals, and there's no correlation between whether she likes you or like flirting with you or not flirting with you. But after the 4 to 10 minute mark, it started to more correlate for whether she liked you or not, right? So that's another thing to keep in mind, that sometimes when you first interact with a girl and you're talking to them for a little bit and you're getting a bunch of signals, what you want to do is when you walk up to a girl, like the first thing you do is set a timer, and once the 5 minute mark hits, then you ask her for sex. That's usually how. I'm joking. That don't do that. Please don't do
4
that.
4 minutes to win it, fellas.
You're sitting there like 10 seconds. Let's.
You look at the 15 watches you have on your arm because you're a Giga Chad, and you're like, oh shit, oh fuck. Hey baby, we got like 2 minutes left before all of the juices are gone. All right, so we gotta crank this conversation up to 10. All right, Let's go.
Yeah, and women also do this to save themselves sometimes from confrontation. Now, like, confrontation is a really big thing, and lots of women don't want to have a lot of confrontation with men because sometimes men go crazy, like ape mode, and just beat them, which sucks. Actually, I would imagine.
That's not a great thing.
It's not a great thing. It's pretty uncool, actually, if I think about it for a moment. So it's they place a high premium, and also like not confronting a lot of guys a lot. So if you ask sometimes, and I at the end of this, I am going to tell you to be more direct. But if you ask a direct question sometimes and you get a more like on-off answer, or you don't get like always like the most direct answer, if they don't want to answer the question sometimes, like, do you like me? Am I making you uncomfortable? Do you think I'm creepy? Like, what do you think about me? Sometimes you won't get the straightest answer because they don't want a lot of conflict. because they don't want to get like their shit rocked or anything, or have to run away from you or call the police, which is reasonable. But it puts it puts another wrinkle into the dating world. I just want to make you really knowledgeable about that, because that's a really important thing to keep in mind.
Can we take like a quick tangent to talk about what being direct means? Because I feel like there's a lot of talk on the internet that kind of irritates me when people talk about being direct.
Sure, take it away.
So a lot of times, and you can, if this is an unbased take, you can feel free to debate bro me. I feel like a lot of times people will talk about being direct in a way that isn't practical, right? And actually makes the whole situation, like, I can't imagine ever using any of these direct questions and having it be natural, right? So some people will be like, I find you attractive and I would like to date you, right? As being direct. That seems like a psychopath is talking to you, right? And not a normal thing to do. So I feel like a lot of times people talk about the nonverbal signals that you get, right? And we're talking all about like how you're not going to recognize these things. But I think that there are ways that you can learn the difference between someone being nice to you and the difference between someone flirting with you, right? In a way that you can then use your own nonverbal skills, right? So, for example, I think that a direct way to talk about this, like, you know, flirting with someone, right, is like the "can I have your number" type of thing, right? Like, or do you have an Instagram, right? I think that being direct with you wanting to be to stay in contact, like if this is the first time you meet them, right? This is Sondsol dating tip number 1. Ask for like their Instagram or for their like Twitter or something. Snapchat. Yeah, I forgot. I haven't used Snapchat since I was in high school. Something like that, right? Where they don't have like, you don't directly have their phone number, right? And like you don't have a direct like line to their everyday life necessarily. It's like especially like Instagram or Snapchat, right? And that way you're letting them know I want to stay in contact, right? I think it would be fun to. And if they give it to you, right, you're probably clear for like level 2 continuing to talk to the person. I think that that's probably the best bet when trying to like find a partner or trying to date. Making that first step of I want to stay in contact rather than saying I would like to take you on a date, right? Because then you're putting them on the spot, like right there to give you that hard rejection, right? Whereas like not giving the Instagram or something like that is less of a like super aggressive rejection, because they could give it to you and then just never respond to you.
Yeah.
Right. So
I've had that happen before.
Being able to give someone an out is also really important. So let's say you go on a first date with someone and you can't tell that whether they're interested in hooking up that night, right? You're on your first date, you know, end of the night, you're going to your car like, hey, so I really enjoyed that dinner, right? Do you want me to take you home, or do you want to go? Or do you want to go out for another drink? Something like that, right? Giving them an out, like, oh no, I'm really tired. I'd rather go home, right? Something like that. And if they offer to take you into their house, then it's like, haha, cha-ching, there we go. Or not, depending on how deep into the internet discourse you want to go, but you know what I mean. So offering that out, like giving them 2 options, like we can either continue to take this one step further, or we can end it here and see how we feel later, right? Those things are probably the best way, I think, to engage with like dating nowadays, right? Especially in a way that leaves the other person comfortable enough and not pressured into doing something they don't want to, and makes it to where if they reject you, it's not going to be like this harsh, you know, like, fuck you, ew, the only reason I hang out with you is because our other friend, you know, that sort of thing.
Yeah,
right?
so you won't get that. No, I think it's really important to when you're talking to someone you're not necessarily sure, give them several options. I think even if they don't want to go that step further with you, they'll like really appreciate it that you gave them an easy option to say no. And sometimes when they're like when they're like hot and cold on something, or they're giving like mixed signal on something, you can give them the option to leave. And because you gave them that option to leave, they can be more likely to want to spend time with you again, because that's a good indication that you're not like super creepy and not trying to like corral them into your bedroom, you know? It's like an easy sort of, hey, we can go, or we can't. It's up to you. I know personally, I've gotten a lot of like compliments, even if things haven't gone further, for when people feel like comfortable around me. People say they can feel like pretty comfortable, and making someone feel comfortable around you for a lot of women is rare. So if you can give that to someone, they can really appreciate that. Even if things don't go further, you know what? You can make a nice friend, or you can like make someone's life better, at the very least, a good like impression on someone. Maybe they can put in a good word for you at another point in time, which is also great. There's only a win situation, and you don't end up as one of those guys the guy that you can fear, like who's super creepy, who's super pushy, who can't take no for an answer, who feels like they're corralling a girl into a situation where they may not want to be in, and I think it's just great. Go ahead.
Yeah, one last thing that I want to say before we get back on track from the tangent that I wanted to take us on is another way that you can learn what the signals that you're receiving is to actually have friends that are women. I know this sounds like super basic and super like lib-cucky, whatever, but I mean, honestly, I have as many friends that are girls as I do that are guys, right? That I'm not ever going to pursue these people romantically, right? They're just my friends. I've known them for a very long time, right? And because I've had these friends that are women, and they've told me about like the fucking crazy things that dudes will do to them, right? It's like, okay, so I'm starting to get more of their perspective and see like what kinds of things they feel are enough to let the other person know that they're not interested, right? And you can kind of apply that to your own life. I mean, don't do it like a sociopath thing. Like, I have to make friends that are girls so that I can understand the inner machinations of the female mind.
Don't turn them into a tool.
Yeah, don't ever use someone just like as merely an ends, right? So yeah, that's all I had to say.
Also, is that salt on your table? Okay. All right, then. We don't talk about that. I think a lot of the times when you go in for really small, just like testing the water sort of flirting, that it could be because of low self-esteem. And that's okay. I know you guys got some low self-esteem. I got some low self-esteem sometimes. Son, you get some low self-esteem sometimes, right? Yeah, your girlfriend's sick and you get some low self-esteem sometimes. That's all right. It'd be that way. That's just like,
and we all get low self-esteem for different reasons, and that's also okay. You know,
that's just like the human life. But if you get low self-esteem, your researchers have shown that when in flirting, or trying to flirt and making like romantic advances on someone, if you have lower self-esteem, you're less likely to be direct. And like I said, because you're more likely to be scared of being vulnerable and turned down, and that can lead you to being more closed off. It can feed into your confirmation bias. And we talked about like things like alexithymia in the last episode. So if you missed that, make sure to check that out. And not coming to grips with your own feelings, or sinking into a sort of stagnation where you're complacent with those feelings because there's something that you're really used to, and that can be a really big problem. That also leads into something that we're going to be talking about in an episode in the future, where you become more standoffish and you keep people at a more of an arm's length, because you keep using that confirmation bias, and you want to keep people close enough to where you can reach out to them, but not close enough to where they're inside your inner like vulnerable circle, to where they're to where you feel like you can get hurt. And that's usually the place where lots of guys keep women, and that could be like their moms, their grandmas, their women friends, their girlfriends, anyone who they're really talking to, especially if they're women, to keep them at that like sort of arm's length where you don't want to lose them, but you're too scared to bring them into your like circle because you don't want to be hurt again. And that's where lots of women talk about how like guys, it's really hard for them to open up sometimes, because they don't want to be hurt in that way. That happens a lot of the time. But at the end of the day, most people, when asked, want people to be direct. You want to be direct, and right. And as you said, like there are bad ways to be direct. There are like better ways to be direct.
Yes.
You can absolutely. I think it's the best to be direct when you give the person an option to get out. When you are, when you don't hide your intentions. I think that's the best, where people don't have to guess like what you are, why you're talking to them, why you're close to them, right? Because like we said, women can misunderstand guys because we suck at encoding and decoding, and we can understand women because we suck at encoding and decoding. So with that information divide, it's important to be direct sometimes, and also make sure that you give people like an out. You know, if you want to hang out, that's great. I would love to. If you don't, once again, that's fine. That's no problem. That makes people the most comfortable. And like you said, with like the hooking up thing, that actually happened with me once, where I was on I don't think it was like a first date, where we were talking for a really long time, and I was over at their house, and so like I like popped the question. I was like, hey, you know, I was looking for a girlfriend, but you know, I'm open to anything. And I think that you're really cute, and I would be open, to, have some fun, right? And you know what she said? No. She said no. But the story continues. It was fine. She said no, but she said thank you for giving her like an option out, because this is the first time we've met up, the first time we like really hung out, and I was in her room. That's like a vulnerable spot for a girl sometimes, right? And so I gave her an option out. I got a hug like when we left, and you know what, we kept talking, and we had other dates after that, and you know what, we did hook up, or you know, well, we played chess afterwards. And you know why? Because she felt comfortable to want to keep engaging. That's a really important thing, right? And once again, don't just like hold off or like think that, oh, once again, this is not like press the right buttons and you're going to get the right thing. That's an example. She could have just said no, and that may have been just it there. And you know what? That would have been fine as well, because I still have more like a cool friend.
Yeah, it's more like not press the right buttons and you'll get what you want. It's more like press the correct buttons and you'll have a higher increased likelihood chance, an increased chance in the RNG, if we're going to talk to our gamer bros out there. All right,
get a better drop rate.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, if we're going to get like even more hyper specific into situations, like you've gotten to your house, but now it's like into that, like, would you like to fuck now, madam? Please, right? And they can give you you don't even have to give them the yes or no question like that, right? For me personally, the way that I do the exact same thing every single time, because I don't want to put someone in a position that they don't want to be in, right? Like that's like a nightmare situation for me. I don't want to ever make anyone uncomfortable, right? So saying things along the lines of like if I invite a girl over and you know, I like to cook for people, and so like invite girl over, cook for her, right? We're watching TV afterwards. Say, do you want to keep watching TV here, or do you want to go up to my room, right? Where there's that option, right? That like the option thing works in every situation, going down all the way to wherever it may lead, you know? And I think that's like the best way that you can navigate those situations if you don't know how to be direct in a non like weird way.
Yeah, the best place where it leads is where you walk into your room and then she sees like your
chess.
You know, she sees your boom arm and your microphone. She's like, "Oh, do you do something online?"
I'm so glad that.
Do you run a podcast?
I was out of the dating scene by the time I started streaming, because I don't know how I would have dealt with that. Holy shit.
I'm in that right now where I'm like, man, I'm gonna have to explain to a girl like what I do. You know that picture of like them at a party and this girl's like got like a brewski in her hand and this guy's like swiping on her phone and showing her like Pepe's. It's just, that's like what it's just gonna be. Yes, this one we call poggers. One of my favorites. And that's the best place where it leads. honestly. Yeah, I'm a political commentator. So it's interesting. I'm an incel. You know, we gotta pull a Hassan and be like, so you ever heard of an incel? Yeah, they kill people. I talk to incels. I'm an incel.
The fucking worst thing that you could possibly say to someone. Have you ever heard of incels? Yeah, they kill people. Anyways,
I'm an incel. What's up, girls?
It's me, your boy.
You guys want to take a seat? Hey, you guys can sit down. You know that, right? No, no, we're good. One thing that you can do is ask for clear answers. So sometimes someone gives, this is what I like to do. Okay. Argo, I saw that you said that, is there any hope for autistic people? This is where this is what we're talking about. Okay. The direct message. This is the closest thing to a scaffolding that we're going to give you with talking, when going into like, interpersonal situations. Cause I really hate that the idea of giving people like a cheat sheet or like a guide to follow.
Yeah.
You can't really do that.
So it's so, instance specific that we can't give you like the dialogue tree by which to figure out if someone wants to date you. We're going to give you tools, and then we're going to say, fly, little birdie.
Yeah. That's the best that we can do for you. So this is the closest thing that you get, which is like, make sure you give people an out, give people multiple options to take. Obviously you can even emphasize the one that you want them to take, but then be like, hey, you know, it's fine. Reinforce their option, reinforce their other choices, that you can take other choices and I won't kill you. You'll be okay. That's a great thing. Women love that. I like to ask for clear answers. So when you ask something and then someone can give you, you're getting like really mixed signals for something, or you don't understand, instead of like pretending like you understand or trying to see if you can figure it out later, be like, I don't understand what you just said. I'm not really sure what you mean. Can you please like elaborate on that? Can you tell me how you feel more into that? Or like things like that. Let them know that you don't understand something. I think it's better if you do that, and then they have the option to tell you more, so you're not just sitting there guessing or wondering what's going on. Reciprocating signals is one thing that you can really look for. So if you're giving certain signals and then they're giving certain signals, if you put your arm around someone and then they lean into you, obviously that's probably like a signal that they like you or something, right? That reciprocation of feelings can be a really good indication that they can be into you. Now, none of these are hard stop rules. They can be. Everyone's different. Remember, women give a lot of the same signals for when they think that they want to be friendly, for when they like you. All right. So it's not all the same sort of thing. Okay. It can be different all the time. You can ask questions like, do you want to go to dinner with me? Would you like to do this together? Can I take you there? And instead of being like, I can take you there, be like, can I take you there? Ask a question. Those sorts of things. Even they can be like a little bit more open-ended. If they give like an open-ended sort of answer, you can ask for like a more specific detail, and that can be great as well. Lots of people find that really not only like really comforting, but really attractive as well. They really like that. And these things, let me tell you, can be a double-sided sword. So they can open you up to greater rejection. They can open you up to greater hurt. But if you're looking for a relationship, relationships aren't the easiest thing in the world to maintain. They can be a lot sometimes. They can be draining and they can be painful. That's okay. If you really want one, you're just gonna, buttercup, you're just gonna have to suck it up, okay? You're gonna have to suck it up. You're gonna be hurt. Like, pick yourself up and realize that not everyone wants to fuck you and not everybody wants to be your girlfriend, okay? And once you realize that, you can be like, you know what? It's okay. And sometimes when you get rejected, it won't be the worst thing in the world. I've told stories before where like I've been rejected by girls, but they're like really, a lot of the times they're really kind about it. Once again, lots of girls don't like a lot of confrontation. So even if they don't always feel that way, the more likely than not, they'll be kind about it, especially if you give them a lot of options and then you open up and you're like really open and you're really kind and you give them options to escape escape your presence. They'll be more likely to be like, hey, you know, he's cool. He didn't kill me this time. And you know, women love it when you don't kill them most of the time. It's pretty cool. And make sure, like, last thing that I want to tell you guys, and I put this at the last part because I want to make sure I emphasize this, is make sure to have enough self-worth not to waste your time with people. I see a lot of guys who spend a lot of time with girls who don't want anything to do with them or reciprocate the same feelings that they have. And you just think that if you put enough coins in the machine, if you spend enough time with it, if you just work on it enough, then that's all going to change for you and things are going to be better for you. Sometimes that won't happen, especially if you follow any of the other tips where it comes to asking like direct questions, and they never give you a direct answer. Sometimes it could be that they don't like you. Sometimes they could be really, they cannot be sure themselves. But I don't think that you should always be wasting your time on someone who's not always really sure, right? Like you can like them, you can keep them around. I'm not saying like completely throw them away or anything. I'm just being like, be realistic. If out of this they say no, that for one, that's okay. And two, you don't want to waste your time. And
also, when someone is serially non-confrontational and non-direct, right? We've talked about this a lot recently, but if someone basically says, like dances around something a whole bunch of times, the answer is no, and that's okay. Like, never get so caught up on one person that you're going to sit there and fawn over them and give them all of your attention, that in a way that will never be reciprocated, right? There's going to be a point in every person's life, at least every dude's life. I've only ever lived as a guy, but so at least in every guy's life, where there's a person that you really enjoy spending time with or talking to that does not reciprocate those feelings, right? Whether or not they don't reciprocate any kind of romantic feelings, or whether they don't reciprocate just like the feelings of wanting to talk to you, right? So when someone says something like you ask them out, you like, can we be boyfriend and girlfriend, however you do it, and they say, well, I don't really know if I'm like able to right now. I'm not really in the right headspace, right? I don't know when I will be, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I'm not comfortable right now. And they give like a bunch of other things, right? Yeah. If they do that a lot, probably the answer is no.
I would go so far as to say, when the first time they do that, if they say like, well, I might not be able to date now, and I might not be able to date in the future either, they're saying no, right? But that doesn't always mean that, because if they turn around and say, I don't think I'm going to be able to date right now, and I don't know if I'll be able to date in the future, but I do find you attractive, or like I do want to stay in touch with you because I do think that eventually maybe this would be like a really cool thing to do, right? Us dating and all that. If they do that, if they add the qualifier at the end, like I would like to, right?
Yeah, I do would like. That's a really big thing that women say.
That is something that they say a lot. All right. Femoid vocabulary lesson 101 with Shark and Sond. All right. We would like that. And if they say that, you're probably in the clear to keep talking to that person, as long as they're not going to string you along for a long period of time. Right.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes you can and because of that, you can string yourself along.
Yeah. I've fallen for this shit. Right. I say fallen for it. I don't think the other person meant it to be like that. Right. But I stayed for too long hoping that something would change in a relationship, and it was heartbreaking. And don't put yourself in a position where you know deep down it's never going to happen, but you keep on going just in case, right?
I think that's also really low self-esteem.
Yeah. It can be due to low self-esteem. It can be due to just ideation of that person, right? You just put them up on this pedestal. It can be a whole bunch of things, but ultimately, what you have to do is like recognize that you have more worth than sitting around for someone else, you know. So I think that's something that should be said. If they say, you know, I'm not going to be able to date right now, and then they don't add any qualifiers at the end of that, they're saying no, and they don't want to hurt your feelings. You know, yeah, and that's fine.
You know what? I mean, sometimes it can be nice. They don't want to hurt your feelings, you know?
Yeah.
They think that you're nice, but not nice. Well, they think that you're nice, but they don't want to date. And you know what? That's perfectly fine. And I'll even call that a W, to where they don't just ghost you, for one, and they don't like say ew, two, and they care about you enough where they cannot be the greatest at encoding or decoding, or not want to be super confrontational or hurt your feelings. That could also be like a sign of love as well, you know? It just be that way. Anything else that you need to add?
Nope. If we're going to get into questions, I have received 2 during the podcast.
Ooh, I have received a lot, and a lot of actually private questions, which is quite curious, actually. Once again, like, I put out a post that we are going to be doing the Antidote podcast. I do this like once a week. So if you want to be a part of this and you don't want your question to be asked in the public, where people can see your name and your face may be connected to it, you can always hit up me or Sond in DMs, either Discord or Twitter, and we can get these for you. So if you need something that's asked that you're uncomfortable with being asked out in the public, we got this for you. Your name will not be attached to it afterwards. If you okay, wait, I gotta put this out here. Okay, just send your question. Do not ask, can I send you a question? And then wait for me to respond. It's supposed to be as anonymous as possible. So I think most people wouldn't like me to be like responding to them just like straight up. So I usually don't accept the I usually don't accept the chat invite. You probably don't either. A lot of the times. So I usually say thank you.
I simply don't notice. I simply don't notice if someone sends, like, if I get a message request, I don't notice until way too late. So if you want to shoot me a message, probably the best way is on Discord. So
yeah. Okay. Would you like to go with yours?
Yeah, let's go with the first one I received. How does one flirt without coming off as a creep?
Without coming off as a creep. Man. I mean, that can be difficult sometimes. I feel like sometimes when people ask this question, what they're asking is, how can I never make someone uncomfortable by me flirting with them? Which, for me personally, I don't think is ever possible. I think if you're going to flirt with like a decent amount of people, there's going to be someone in there that will feel uncomfortable with you talking to them, which is unfortunate, but that's just kind of it, you know? If you're going to put yourself out there, you're going to get hurt. You don't have to hurt other people, but you'll make them like a little uncomfy with your presence. Sometimes not everybody wants to be approached. And it's not like like, how are you going to approach someone, like a bunch of people, without never making them uncomfortable? Unless you like pull up your bullhorn and you're like, hey, you lady in red jacket, I see that you are pretty. Can I approach you? You know, that's going to make someone much more uncomfortable than you just like walking up and asking them.
Hey, you with the cargo shorts and the Crocs. Let me see that pussy.
Show me your pussy.
No, the one on the right. The one on the right.
Yeah, her.
Let me see that pussy, though.
Please,
let me see that pussy.
I'm trying to be more direct.
Yeah, my advice would be, if you're, like, generally speaking, the best way to engage with someone is to treat everyone like a fucking person.
Right? Him like people.
If you're talking to people and you don't want a girl to think that you're being creepy, right, and you're not flirting with her, just treat her like a fucking person.
Women love it when you treat them like humans.
Yeah, don't like stare at their titties for a long time. Don't like, don't do like groping them with your eyes. Just kind of treat people like a person. And if they are treating you like a person back, then you can kind of go one step further and give like the kind of nonverbal signals. What kind of nonverbal signals are there that I feel like I could explain with words? Fuck.
So researchers have shown that when guys are into a girl, one thing that they do is they lean forward more. They get a little bit closer. They laugh more, and sometimes they don't smile as much, but they do like laugh more at their jokes. They're more attentive. Make sure to ask questions about them. One way that you can show interest in someone is asking questions about them to get to know more. Because if you're interested in someone, that means you probably want to know more about them. Ask her questions. That's a really big way to know. Ask her questions. See if there's anything that like that you can like provide, or that's common, or something that you can comment on. Ask her like, and then have another link. Ask like another question, or ask her anything about that, or if it's something that she could like laugh at or comment herself. That's another thing that you can do. Those things are more verbal, but just giving someone a lot of attention. Oh, another thing. Hey, listen, if you get her number or snap or like her social media, responding quickly. Listen, all right. You're not in high school anymore. Even if you are in high school, you're not in high school anymore. All right, bud? After you listen to this, you're not in high school anymore. Don't be the dude who you text them and you're like, okay, I gotta wait 6 hours to respond. No. What if she's talking to other guys in that time? But in all seriousness, showing that you're into someone can be actually wanting to hear from them. So if you get a reply, talk to them. Why would you not? Lots of people really like that. It shows them that you're actually interested in hearing what they're saying, and you are valuable. They are valuable to your time, right? So you choose to respond or talk to them over anything else that you could be doing in that moment. No, obviously don't do it like crazy where you're like texting and driving like, hey girl, I'm going 110 on the highway right now and I'm swerving through traffic, but I needed to text you because you're just so beautiful. Listen, put your priorities first, but still like prioritize talking back to them.
And if you're like, speaking of texting and flirting, there's no texting and flirting that's ever going to be number one. I don't think that there's any advice that anyone can give for texting and flirting, because it's going to be very specific to your relationship.
Super.
Also, just saying like, damn girl, you're so fucking fine. Like, can I see some titty? Like, what I can do is tell you what not to do. I can't tell you what to do, but what I can tell you what not to do. Don't just like out of the blue ask someone for fucking nudes, right? Please. And don't just be like, let me see them titties. All right. What you ought to do is just like text someone like you want to text them. Don't sit there and send them one word responses or something like that, unless it's funny. Joke with them, right? If you have inside jokes, text with that sort of shit. Don't sit there and go for it.
Insult them.
Neg them.
Yes,
make them feel worthless so that they have the self-esteem to reject you.
but no. This is serious. Like, unironically insult them. So what I mean is like, a little bit of friendly ribbing, right? So
sure, yes,
a little bit of friendly ribbing. When you try to treat someone, that's like treating them as a person, right? When you go in with like the softest gloves, like you're talking to like a Fabergé egg, and you try and treat them so like gently, that's not treating them as a person. She's a woman, all right? She's strong, okay? She can handle a little. Well, some can. I actually like knew a girl who absolutely couldn't, and I'm annoying and I'm facetious and I clown a lot and I make fun of people, and so that wouldn't work for me. I know some of you guys wouldn't as well. Like, one thing that I can imagine, right? And if she's like ribbing you, that's, she's probably comfortable around you, or she likes you a fair amount, right? Mm-hmm. Which is like, let's say you're about to like go into a restaurant, and then you're like, okay, I got her. This is gonna be a great date. And then you try to open the door and you hit the wrong door and you like fumble with it for a second, and she's like right behind you. And then you're like, you struggle to get it open for a second, and she goes, well, I see you've been working out. Like, that's a little bit, that's funny. For one, she's funny, and two, she's comfortable around you, and three, like that's some fun ribbing. I remember I was at work, and I wasn't hitting on this girl, especially in case any of them are watching. I wasn't hitting on her, but we were just talking. We were friendly, and she was telling me about the manga that she bought, right? And I was like,
weeb.
She is a
damn.
weeb, like literally. She's a self-admitted weeb as well, the worst type. So she was telling me about that, and I was like, "Wow, tell me more. Wow, that's so interesting. Wow." And then another person came over and was like, "Oh, hey, what are you guys talking about?" I'm like, "Oh, nothing really." But you know what? I just hate weebs. People who read manga, like, oh my gosh, are they losers? Like, holy crap! I can't even imagine being a person. Can you imagine being a person like that? And she's like, okay, I see you. But it was funny in the moment, especially the tone that I took. So a little bit of that like friendly ribbing. It's fun, you know. Ribbed for her pleasure.
Punch her in the ribs. Don't punch her in the ribs. Do you want to read one of your questions?
Oh, please. I love my questions. Can you please talk about how like it's more like how to approach women? They were like homeschooled. So did you think that we basically covered that?
This is how it's like the only thing that I'll add on to what we've just said in terms of like approaching girls. If you're gonna approach a girl in public, just be fucking chill and have zero fucking expectations.
True.
Just treat like literally the number one rule that you can take away from any podcast that I'm a part of where I'm giving you dating advice, just treat everyone like a fucking human being. Treat everyone the same, right? And if someone likes the fact that you're treating them like a human being and they want to treat you like a human being back, right, then you have more of a chance of developing some sort of real connection there, right? You're not going to walk up to someone and treat them like a living fleshlight and then them want to continue talking to you, right? Walk up to them, treat them like a fucking human being. Just say, you know, if you go to a karaoke bar, right? I met my current girlfriend at a karaoke bar, right? And we were both drunk or on our way there, and we just started singing a song, and everyone was like having fun, and we were just like both singing at each other, right? And then her friend came over and my friend came over, and then they were singing with each other, and we all just had like a grand old time. And then we both happened to go to the same club after that, right? And we all just hung out, and I treated them like all exactly the same, right? I got their Instagram, we talked on that, and that's how I am now in a 1.5 year long relationship. It's just as easy as treating people like fucking human beings. It's so fucking easy to do that.
Yeah, women think it's so hot when you treat them like people. It's crazy. They love it. I didn't have too much to add there, but let's do this one because I thought this one may be interesting. In my past 2 relationships, one with a woman and one with being a man, I stayed with them past the date when I more or less knew that we were going to be a bad fit. In one of those relationships, me and the other person stayed friends, but still basically acted like we were dating for a couple months after we, in air quotes, broke up. How do I avoid this straggling behavior and check myself on it in the future? So, man, this one is
really, this is hard.
So, me personally, I trained myself to be like, no, all right, just no. So when it comes to not only like ex-partners, but also when it comes to people who haven't had like reciprocal feelings towards them, towards me that I had for them, and they asked to be like friends, I just say no. I just cut them out for me personally. And the reason is because more likely than not, you're not going to be friends because those unrecorded feelings are still going to be there, and you're not going to treat them, like I said, as a person. You're going to treat them like a machine that you can put coins into. Maybe if you can just hang around, you're going to be wasting your time. You're going to stress yourself out, especially if they start talking to other people. You're going to be an absolute mess. You're going to be a mess. Don't do it. Have more worth for yourself than that. Just leave. It's time. If it's time to go, it's time to go. And if you're in a relationship with someone and you know it's not going to work out, just be like, it's not going to work out and go. You're wasting your time, but even that, you're wasting their time. Because if you were going to cut off the relationship and you're still wasting time with them when you know that you're not going to do it, and they're starting to pick up signals that you stopped caring as much about them, things have changed and they start stressing out, you're stressing out their life, you're wasting their time, and it's just bad for everyone. You need to make sure that you check yourself. It's a really big word. It starts with a B, it ends with an S. It's called boundaries. You need to set boundaries for yourself. Now, people say like boundaries for like other people can do to you, but you need to set boundaries for like what you do for yourself. Sometimes you need to set that boundary. I keep those people at like an arm's length. I keep them out of my life. Because I'm just the same strings that you're going to hold on to are the ones that you hang yourself with when you know things aren't going to work out.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same way. For me, it's not even just, you're wasting your time and wasting their time. That is a huge part of it. Ultimately, what you're doing is it's a form of self-harm, I think, to kind of keep yourself in this limbo space where you're not quite broken up, but you're broken up, and we're just kind of going through the motions of this. I've fucking been there. My last relationship, before my current one, was really fucking hellish at the end. And we both knew, I think, at a certain point that continuing to stay in contact was, really bad for both of us, right? And we continued to do it because it felt like we ought to, not to. Fucking, if you break up with someone, even if it's like on decent terms, like if you can be friends, right? And like that person is making the effort to be the friend, right? Like y'all can do that, right? But I would caution you to make sure that you can do it, right? But also, like, if you don't think that that's going to be a possibility, block them on fucking everything.
Run. Yep.
Don't keep them at arm's length. Send them into a different fucking reality. All right. If you can't bring yourself to block them, do what I did. Get your roommate to go into your fucking Facebook and block them. All right.
I paid my friend $30 to. That's the only reason why I'm on Twitter right now. Because for one, my one of my exes were one of those people that they live tweet their entire life. So they're just like constantly tweeting, and then there would be interactions between not only me and that account and then her friends in my account, and like all the time. I just paid my friend $30, gave her my password, and I'm like, clean that shit out, just get them out of here, like mega block all of them, and I don't want to see anything about them. Open up a portal to another dimension, throw them in, and just like close that shit and like burn the sacred texts. Okay.
Yep.
I never want to see you again in my entire life, ever. And you know what? I thought it was an amazing thing, because sometimes I would be rolling around my town and I see a car that looks similar to their car, and then my day would be ruined, So if I ever saw anything, and you ever see anything like them online, especially if they get like a new partner or anything, if they're talking about getting a new partner or something, it'll like fuck you up. Get out of there. Escape. That's a boundary that you need for yourself, and you need to hold by it. Because it's like really important too.
Yep. 100%. Block them on everything. Move the fuck on, because it's going to be hard to move on, but that's the easiest way to move on. All right. Here, let me do my second question here. Mm-hmm. Question for the convo, if the topic comes up. Well, we're bringing it up now. For me as a woman, I often ask guy friends how my actions were interpreted by another guy, so I don't get the wrong impression, and also check if there's interest for the guy. So is that good in general? Also, to make sure they don't think I'm flirting. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. You should, again, I think that you should have friends of different genders all over the place, right? Because that's base as fuck. But you should also like be able to be friends with someone that's a girl if you're a guy, and a guy if you're a girl, because they will give you very often insights into things that you really didn't think about before. So, for instance, it really did take knowing a bunch of women, right, and primarily hanging around women for a couple of years, to know that, holy shit, they're fucking terrified of dudes. You go out to a fucking bar, and women are fucking terrified of the guys there. Like everyone there like has like a 40% chance of just fucking murdering them if they don't like say yes to sucking their dick. That's the way that they feel. So like realize that, especially in like a public venue, if you're going to be like drinking somewhere or go to a concert or something, every girl there is probably fucking terrified of you if you just like walk up to them and like, do you want a date? Like they're not going to like that shit. Once I pulled my microphone off at the stand here.
The bit was good, so it was worth it.
Yeah. But like they're terrified of you. But I didn't really think about that until I had friends that were girls. I also didn't realize that the way that I can't think of an example off the top of my head, but the way that they were acting with me was, oh, that's just like friend shit. Oh, okay. And then I could then apply that to, oh, this girl is doing the friend shit with me. She's not doing the like flirting shit with me. And you can kind of get more of a frame of reference. So I think that sort of thing is good. Yes.
Yeah. I want to ask this one. This one was interesting because this is from Certified Woman. All right. Not even like, I wonder if this is a perspective from a woman. Certified Woman. Hi, I hope you're having a lovely weekend. And I have a question for your podcast. Son, did you have a good weekend?
I did. Amazing.
My weekend actually wasn't that great. I was feeling a little under the weather. I didn't stream much, but you know what? It was all right. Other than this question, I read it over the weekend and it made me happier. So thank you. I appreciate it. In the past, I, a lady type person, found it difficult to make male friends because my interest in a relationship was misinterpreted as romantic. Is there a sort of no homo, but for a friendship, no romo? So what do you think? Also, let me give it to you so you can look at it.
Yeah. You go ahead and go first on this one. I'm going to have to think about this because I think that this is one of those things that is kind of difficult because it depends on how close you are with that person. For me,
did you want me to go first?
You go first. I was about to try and answer it, but let me think about how I'm going to answer this.
Sure. So, like we said, guys are really bad at misinterpreting. Guys are really bad at interpreting women's emotions and women's nonverbal cues, sometimes verbal cues, things they give for how they can be really emotionally attached to them in any way. So what I think is really important is being being as direct as possible. Without like sparking up too much confrontation as you can. Be like, hey, like you're nice, but I'm not looking for a relationship right now. I'm not sure if we'd be like a great fit, like those sorts of things. I would say try not to say anything that you would that would like change in the future for like the worse for them. So if it's like I don't want to date right now. And that's like the only reason that you give. And then like 3 weeks later that you're dating, you're like going on a date with like another guy, something like that, that would lead to more confrontation. And I would think like they would feel a little betrayed, right? Like you lied to them. You could be correct in that moment, but I wouldn't say something like that if I was in that situation. So things along those lines. And also if you noticed that they're like into you or something, or you're curious, guys, we can be kind of dumb. Okay. And we can get in our own heads and think that sometimes a no is not a no. It's more like a no asterisk, right? Instead of like a hard no. So you got to like pound it into them. You got to like beat their head in that it's a no, hard no, like the capitalized 3 exclamation marks, no, right? That you have to get that through to them. A lot of the times I think like going into a friendship, do that. And if you've listened to this before, how guys can like be friendly, but their real intentions, since they're bad at encoding, their real intentions were to date you. So if the guy comes in your life like that, and you're not sure necessarily, then I would say absolutely like hit them on the head and be like, I'm just looking for a relationship here. And then they could take that and then hopefully they'll understand and like stop pursuing you and then disengage, or stop pursuing you and be friends. That's the happy end. That's a good ending.
Yeah. I think that what you're saying is right. I think that being direct with them, if there's a guy that seems like he is given like the heavy flirting signals, right, rather than friend signals, that's when you tell them like, yo, by the way, I don't want to fucking date you, dog. Anyways, let's crack open a Bud Light or whatever girl and guy friends do. When in the past, there have been girls who I initially wanted to date, that we then figured out we're not going to date, right? Or we started out as friends and then I wanted to date or they wanted to date me, and then we had to have the conversation, right? But ultimately, if that person doesn't want to respect your wishes, one of two things is going to happen, right? Either one, you're going to tell them, hey, I don't want to date. And they're going to be like, haha, okay. And then they're going to sit there and simp after you forever, right? And it's just never going to happen. And they're going to, waste their time, right? And then feel like really hurt when you get into a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Or they're going to leave and be mean, right? The second option is actually the better one. Best case scenario, someone is like, okay, cool, that's chill, and y'all stay friends, right? I have a couple of friends that are like that, and we're like super chill even to this day, right? And neither of us get like offended if the other person is dating someone or anything like that. And those are like really good friendships because like you're not going to expect anything from them at all. So yeah, be super direct, and be understanding if they don't want to like be your friend anymore, because it's better that they don't want to be your friend anymore than them still wanting to date you and stay like following you around like a puppy, because that's incredibly cringe.
That's true. To get a guy off you, what you do is you say things like
pepper spray.
Wow, you're great. Man, I wish I could find a guy like you out there. Like you say things like, man, you're like an older brother to me. You say things like, wow, you're the best.
You're so unfuckable. Holy shit.
I gotta make sure I keep you as one of my best friends forever. That's what you say. And that'll
every time you come around, it's like my pussy zips up. I can't believe how much I don't want to date you. That's what you gotta be ultra fucking direct. And you know what? If they're a good person, they'll appreciate it.
Disregard the last thing you heard in the last 1 minute of this podcast, okay?
Well, we can't talk about pussy zipping up? What's wrong with that?
Don't say these things. Don't say these things. But no, like, yeah, you gotta bonk them upside the head, or else they won't get it. And sometimes if you do, they'll walk around with their head caved in and be like, oh yeah, she's cool.
Yeah.
We be dumb sometimes. Do you want to do another one, or you think we're good?
I think I've done all the ones that I have. If you want to do any of the other ones, up to you. And we can always save them for next time.
Let's save them for next time, because I do have a couple more. I think it's better to save them for next time. All right. Also, one person said, like, before closing, that it's very, like, what we're talking about is heteronormative. I'm not gay.
Yes.
And Son.
Now, I'm bi. I've never dated a guy. I've only been in like relationships with girls. So all of the advice that we're giving here is directed at heterosexual dudes, and I don't think that that's like a bad thing. I don't think that it's like excluding the queer community. If there's something that someone can get out of this, that is a piece of advice that they can apply to their life, whether they're straight or they're queer or whatever. I think that that's great. I don't want anyone to feel like we're intentionally leaving out entire segments of the population, but I feel like there is a space for those communities, right, that are able to give advice in those areas. This is just supposed to be for your average dumb fuck dude who doesn't know how to find himself a friend, doesn't know how to find himself a romantic relationship, and that's something that he craves a whole lot, because there is a problem in the day that we live in, right, in the times that we live, that it's hard for men to find a relationship that's healthy in a healthy way. So
or healthy media about it as well.
Say it again.
Or healthy media about it as well.
Yeah. So, like, of course, it's going to be targeted towards straight men, but there's also things that are targeted towards queer people. That gay dude dating advice. I'm sure that you can find that on the internet somewhere. So if this isn't the podcast for you, I'm certain that you're going to be able to find some kind of advice in here. Yeah, fuck off, femoids. No, you can find some piece of advice here, whether it's just some sort of insight into how like straight dudes think, or like something like that, that you can apply into your everyday life, And if not, then there's all the rest of our content that you can consume. Whether it's Shark's like 10 out of 10 pro streamer fucking marking his stream as he goes along, or it's my fucking attempting to play League of Legends and railing at my chat because I hate them all, right? You're going to be able to find something else somewhere. So,
yeah. Listen, I don't fucking understand queer people, okay? This is not my job to understand queer people. It's my job to make sure they don't get like killed by the state or Trump supporters, okay? That's my job. That's where I stop, okay? That's where all my understanding stops. I don't understand. All right. I wake up and I like log on to Twitter, and like the queer discourse is like a fucking tornado outside of my window, and I close it and I go into the basement, and I just kind of chill for a moment. That's what I do. I don't understand what's going on over there, and if I can, my job isn't to fix it. My job is to make sure that you guys have as much room to be gay as possible. All right. That's my job.
You'll make your own podcast, queer.
Got him bodied.
Got him.
Thank you, everybody, for watching. I really appreciate it. If you want to see more of the Antidote podcast, I have it on my YouTube channel. That's Shark300, the word shark, the number 3, the letter O, and the word 0. If you really liked it, leave a comment, leave a like. We always like it. I send some comments to Son sometimes, and it's been really inspiring to hear a lot of people say that they got something from it, because that's the whole point. We want to make sure that the boys are healing, and after they watch it, the boys are definitely healing. And I really appreciate you guys for being around, for listening, for following, for lurking, and just being you. I appreciate you, and I hope everything is going to be better if it isn't good now, and if it is good, I hope it continues being that way and gets better. I am Shark, and with my good co-host Sondsol, I'll see you guys in another episode. All right.
Another
Beautiful
podcast in the bag.
In the bag.
Right? Once